Okay, interesting. If you're talking, you're on mute. I can't hear you. Guys, just confirming. Actually, this is it says I could hear Vishaka now. Should we start?
Yes, sir. We'll be beginning with the session.
Cool. So just let me know when is my cue and I'll get started.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, I'm pressuring you. My bad.
Okay. Greetings to all present here. Before beginning with the session, please make note of the rules which are to be followed throughout the webinar. You can switch on your videos, but kindly keep yourself in mute at all times. Please try to log in through your laptop so as to get a better visual experience. The term startup refers to a company in the first stage of operation. Startups are founded by one or more entrepreneurs who want to develop a product or service for which they believe there is demand. A very good evening to one and all present. I, Ritika, on behalf of IIC of Shaheed Rajguru College of Applied Sciences for Women, University of Delhi, would like to extend my profound and earnest welcome to Mr. Karan Kishorepuria, the speaker for today's session. I would like to extend a wholehearted welcome to our esteemed principal, Ma'am Dr. Payal Mago, and the conveyor of IIC, Dr. Ranjana Singh. I would like to extend our sincere and heartfelt welcome to all the scholarly and knowledgeable teachers and to all the thoughtful and attentive audience present here today. We are truly humbled beyond measure for such an overwhelming response. We are glad to have Mr. Karan Kishorepuria as our speaker for today's session. Sir is an executive director at Regaal Resources and one of the youngest angel investor at Mumbai Angel Network Partner at SVP India. We would now like to invite Sir to enlighten us about the topic, how to plan for startup, legal and ethical steps.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Ritika. That was a very well enunciated speech and great public speaking, I must say. And thank you for the introduction as well. So if you don't mind, can I start sharing my screen? I have a small deck I have prepared.
Yes, sir.
And just for the audience, I don't use Google Hangout Meets that often. So in case I make mistakes at the beginning, just pardon me, please. I promise I'll figure out the technology very quick. So Ritika, I should share a tab or a window?
The window, sir, that would be better.
Okay, cool. Perfect. Cool. Wait, I think I should share a tab. It'll be better. 1 second. Stop presenting. Tab. Cool. I'm assuming you can see the screen, right?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. So just for your clarity, when I'm looking towards the right, I have a second screen where I can see all your faces. So that's that. So let's get started. Thank you for the introduction. So simple request before we start, I'm going to request all of you to on your videos. Reason being that it'll allow me to see whether my jokes are working or not. Secondly, just to feel like we're in the same room. And thirdly, it's always nicer to engage. And if I ever see you in person, I can say hi. Or if you see me, you can also say hi. I'm in Calcutta, by the way. So please turn on your videos. I would really request that. Fun fact is the person who engages the most with their video on, I'll send over wherever you are in the world my favorite book with a handwritten note. I'll get your address from the organizers. So if you don't have your video on, I can't give you the book. So please turn on your videos. Big request. So I think we already covered this. People mentioned that in the chat, so I won't ask this again. A brief background about me so you have context about why I'm taking this session. So in 2015, I founded the Dalal Street, which was the first business conclave at the high school level in Eastern India. In 2016 and 17, I ran a few side hustles to make money, which included running FIFA tournaments, doing a squash coaching business, selling a few goods here and there. In 2017 is when I started my first startup called Mango or Go University. It was an event management platform which helped college students maximize their time in college. In 2018 is when I led the largest startup competition in Northeastern with 68 plus ventures. In 2018 is when I was in the founding analyst team of NU Impact, the first impact investing fund, where I led the fundraising of $500,000 and invested in multiple startups as an angel investor as a group. I worked at Goldman Sachs after that in the New York City office, and I also led all things venture at Idea, which is the largest student-led venture accelerator in the world, where we give out $1 million in grants to companies. So currently, as Ritika kindly mentioned, I'm growing Regaal Resources. It's an agtech company out of Calcutta and Bihar. One fun fact is that we are going for a public listing. So I'm leading the IPO process right now, and we list sometime early 2023. So if you see Regaal on the stock market, you'll know one of the promoters who runs the company, which is exciting. Ritika already mentioned I'm a part of a few angel networks like Mumbai Angels, Social Venture Partners, and a few others. And the last part, 20% of my time, is spent on personal growth, which includes investing, reading, working out, courses, traveling, workshops at amazing colleges like yours, and vlogging. I did share a few links in case you want to check out some of the stuff that I've done in the past, but if not, let's get started. So first I have a question for you guys, right? That what is the difference between a startup and a business? Anybody can unmute and answer if that's okay by the organization. They can unmute, right?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. So anybody knows what the difference between a startup and a business is? Okay. No takers? Or is somebody raising their hand? Let's see. No. Chat. Startup is going 0 to 1 and business going from 1 to n. Love that, Shivani. Thank you for mentioning that. If anybody's read Peter Thiel's book, 0 to 1, it talks exactly about what Shivani is saying. Any other thoughts? Okay, different question. Do you think, I'll want engagement, okay, from you guys on the chat. So do you think a startup and a business is the same? Is every business a startup? You can say yes or no. Is every business a startup? No. Okay. So for the people who mentioned no, why? What do you think is the difference? You can take a wild guess. Naam alag hai. One is startup, one is business. Any guesses on the chat or unmute yourself? I prefer unmuting because we're only 60 people. Startups are more agile. Okay, Pranjay, I hear that. I agree. Cool. So for the sake of time, I'll keep going. So this is the primary difference, right, between a startup and a business. I've listed it down. So number one, startups are innovative, businesses are not. Startups are scalable. That means that it can go from 1 to n or 0 to 1, as Shivani mentioned. Businesses don't move that quick. They aren't scalable or investable. For example, say that Anjali runs a hairdresser salon, right? I cannot invest in it to make it grow faster. However, if Anjali develops, say, an interesting comb that makes hair grow faster or more densely, I can invest in it and sell it across the world. That's one thing. The third point is very, very important is startups are solving a problem. They are problem-centric, whereas businesses are profit-centric. So our founders usually try to solve a problem. That's why they start a business. And how they solve a problem is by disrupting. So startups often disrupt, generally through technology. Businesses don't disrupt. They are generally plain old vanilla, like salon business, manufacturing, kapda ka business, etc., etc. Startups are more risky. 92% startups fail in the first 3 years. That's a crazy stat. 92% startups fail in the first 3 years, whereas small businesses are usually less risky. Only 32% fail, according to some stats. And with exit goals, right? A business goal is usually to make money, make it a family business, sell it, or potentially IPO. For a startup, it is usually to keep raising new rounds of funding to pay back their old investors with the eventual aim of either selling the business or going IPO, so that the initial investors get some kind of a output from their thing. So that's the difference between a startup and a business. So one quick question now for you guys is, do you think over time, say that in India, 50% startups fail in this many years and 70% startups fail in this many years? Do you think over time more startups fail or succeed? You can use the chat. Like as time goes on, does the failure rate increase or decrease? Okay, I'm looking at the chat. Success. Okay. Decrease. Okay. Failure rate decrease. So, you might think that, interestingly enough, that's not true. So over time, more and more startups fail. And I'll share why. Also, just for your clarity, right, over this entire 40-minute workshop that we have left, I'll be covering 3 key topics. The first one is how to start a startup. The second one is how to get funding for a startup and what investors are looking for. And the third one is how to get a job at a startup or a VC. If you want me to cover anything else, you can put it in the chat and I'll try my best to cover it given the time we have. Okay. So now these are some crazy stats about starting up, that 95% of the startups fail. And this rate only increases over time. So with time, more and more startups of this 90% keep failing. Now, one thing that you might think is, okay, but if the startup receives funding, it might succeed. That's not true. So funding is not a sign of success. It's the sign of next milestone. So 75% venture-backed startups or funded startups fail. This is a real stat from Inc.42. Now, under 50% of the businesses that are actually succeeding go to their 5th year. Only 33% of the businesses make it to the 10-year mark. Only 40% of successful businesses actually turn a profit. So like, when you hear Uber is not making a profit, if you don't know, Uber is in severe losses, Swiggy is in severe losses, Zomato is not making a profit. So most of these, Oyo Room is not making a profit. So most of these startups that you hear, they are growing very fast, but are yet to make money. And only 40% startups fail. And 82% of businesses fail because of cash flow or working capital problems. So, the reason I'm sharing these stats is because a few things to keep in mind is that a lot of times you are like, when I'm talking to young people, right, they are looking for the perfect idea. And my idea out there is that an idea is never complete. Okay, an idea is never complete. Every few months, an idea will keep evolving and iterating itself. So the only way to get to the next phase of ideation is to start working on the idea. And in the same lens, if you keep failing, eventually your probability of success increases. Most startup founders, like myself, have failed multiple times. And the third thing is that if you succeed once, right, the probability of succession becomes much faster over time. And why this happens is that, for example, okay, who knows the founder of Oyo Rooms? On the chat, no Googling. Oyo Rooms, one of India's most prominent startups. Don't Google. Okay, Ritesh Agarwal. Pranjay, I hope you didn't Google that. So, Ritesh, there is Peter Thiel. Shivani mentioned 0 to 1, 1 to N. He wrote a book called 0 to 1. And Peter Thiel has a very interesting venture capital fund which only backs people who have dropped out from college. So Ritesh Agarwal is not a college pass out. He dropped out from college. I am a believer in education. So please get good grades and pass college. But he's an exception. He dropped out from college and he applied for this thing. So he'd already, people who drop out, kind of, you can label them as, fail kar gaya college mein, right? So he failed there, but he got Peter Thiel's funding and he made Oyo Rooms happen. So if you succeed once, there is more chances of getting succession again and again. Quick pause. Any questions so far? I'll keep stopping in the middle for questions and to drink water. No questions? I love questions, guys and girls. I wasn't sure. I thought this is an all girls thing, but I saw some guy named Pranjay is hopefully a guy's name. I'm not sure, so I'm mixing it up. But if I'm wrong, please correct me on the chat. So next part, which I think is the big chunk of this session, right, is steps to build a startup. So what do we think is the first step on the chat? Very basic. First step. Amisha, bang on. Idea. So okay, let's see. Then the ideation. Okay. Now, so great. You already mentioned the first step, right? Getting an idea. So okay, wait. Sorry. So ideation, right? Now, firstly, I would recommend is find an imperfect idea, because no idea is perfect, as I mentioned previously. Okay, you'll keep perfecting it over time, and even Zomato, right, has not perfected its idea. And now I want to ask why imperfect ideas. So can anybody tell me how Uber started? What was the initial idea behind Uber? It wasn't what it is today. It wasn't Uber Eats. Uber has logistics as well. What was the initial idea about Uber? Taxi services, okay. Rio, that's something a little more particular. They're obviously in taxi services. No idea, okay. I'll give you some idea, Sergi, as Abhishek Bachchan said in his idea ads. Okay, what about Zomato? Today, Zomato is famous for food delivery. How did it start? What was the initial idea behind Zomato? Any thoughts in the chat? What do you think? Zomato is more younger than Uber, so you have, and it's Indian. It wasn't a food delivery app before. I'll wait for 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, no takers. If you're typing, you can still type. Hotels, okay, interesting. Cloud kitchen, interesting. I'll tell you all answers. Just give me 1 sec. What about YouTube? How did YouTube start? Pranjay, yes, restaurant aggregator. Zomato started as a restaurant discovery platform or a food directory or directory for restaurants. And now it's doing cloud kitchens, delivery, marketing, advertising. It's like doing a lot of things on the side. So great answer, Pranjay. What about YouTube? How did it start? What was the initial idea? This one is very unique, YouTube. I'll wait for 5 seconds. No thoughts. Okay, while I'm saying Uber, maybe you come up with YouTube's answer. So Uber started as a platform, right? It started as a lemo service. So like in America and Uber, even in India in some places, you have Uber Black, which is like really expensive Uber cars like Mercedes and all that good stuff, which is like 5 times or 10 times the price for normal Uber, for people working in consulting, finance, etc. in metropolitan cities in America, like Chicago, New York, etc. So that's how Uber started. Today, Uber is famous for Uber Pool, Chota Uber, Uber XL, Uber X, logistics, food delivery, and they're doing a lot more. Uber trucking is also a big thing now in America. They might explore warehousing, etc. Zomato is already covered, so I won't mention that. But YouTube is probably the most interesting thing. I wish I could see your faces, guys. Please turn on your videos. I would love to see. I can see Anjali and Vishaka right now. Thank you both. And Pranjay and Ritika now. Cool, fantastic. So YouTube started as some kind of a Tinder. It was a place where you could meet people by sharing your videos, and they could swipe right or swipe left. And today YouTube does nothing like that, right? So what I'm saying is find the imperfect idea, and as you build, you will keep figuring out what the idea is going to evolve into, right? Now, what are some ways to get ideas? Firstly is reading. Read everything, read whatever you can. And for me, read between books, news, newsletters, interesting articles, etc. The second thing is listen. So podcasts, videos are great places to listen to. A lot of value adding stuff on the internet. The third is probably the most important. Talk to interesting people. Ask them, like, when you go say that I went to Siliguri, right? I asked people, what's the big pain point around there? If some, like say that Calcutta airport in Calcutta airport, luggage takes too much time to come. Is that a problem that's happening other places as well? A lot of you have complained, but why not solve for that problem? Why not understand what's happening on the back end, right? So talk to people. One gold mine, team, and everybody out here is LinkedIn. If you're a student, LinkedIn is a gold mine. Please get active on it. It's incredible. Uh, the fourth thing is experience. So, you can do internships, jobs, side hustles, and you can learn a lot. For example, a side hustle might be starting a podcast and interviewing interesting people and asking them, and suppose you interview 20 people, right? 20 really smart people, and you asked in each interview, what is one thing nobody's solving for right now? So you have 20 ideas all of a sudden, right? In 20 conversations. And the fifth thing is learning, right? So you can learn through courses. My favorite part of learning is through failures and through travel. So bottom line, if you want to get more ideas right, it won't come to you automatically. No God will pop the idea in your head. Just be curious, talk to people and experiment. Be curious, talk to people, experiment with different things. And I promise you some idea will stick, which you can move forward. Lead ideation exercises at different incubators. And trust me, people say idea nahi aa raha, idea nahi aa raha hai. In 30 minutes, I've had people from class 12 come up with 30 ideas. And one of those ideas is first thing is look for a problem. For example, my mom has difficulty like email, she's okay with it, but she's not very good. So maybe that's a big problem, right? So look for problems like that. See what's happening around your house: waste management, education, plastic. So much is wrong in the world today that you can correct. Second thing is, once you found, say, 20 problems, narrow down problems that you are passionate about, that you want to solve. For example, I don't want to solve problems around, say, fintech. I want to solve problems around it, and I feel it very strongly. And I studied finance and nutrition. So find problems that you are passionate about in that problem list. The third thing is oxygen aspirin jewelry filter. Has anybody heard of this? If you all watch Shark Tank, you read and tell me this. No chatting. I'll wait for 5 seconds. Take a guess. No guesses. In one of my workshops when I did it in person, I asked a question and I asked them for insights. Nobody was answering. So I said, till you don't answer, I won't continue. Any guesses? For 5 seconds. No. Cool. Okay. Okay. No idea, sir. Anjali. Okay. No problem. So oxygen aspirin jewelry is an interesting VC metric to understand how potent the problem that you're solving is. For example, if it's a big need, right? The problem is very important. For example, say waste management in India, it's a big problem right now. It's oxygen. If it's somewhat of a need for some people, it's not really a need, it's a want, it's aspirin. For example, say giving Uber Black is aspirin. You don't really need it. You have taxi, you have public transport, etc., etc. And jewelry is what you don't need but you still want. For example, say that you want really high-end clothing or you want really expensive experiences. You don't really need it, it's jewelry. So try to be in that oxygen aspirin category with your problem. It should be something that's a real problem for the world. So you can categorize it that way. The fourth thing is, once you say that you have 20 problems, right? 10 of them you're passionate about, 5 of them fall in the oxygen aspirin category. Now think about, in these 5 problems, what are the problems people are solving for and what no one is solving for. Say that people are solving for 3 problems. Now you have 2 problems left that you can build an idea on. So your initial funnel should be big if you don't have an idea already. Now, one interesting question I get asked often, and I've also been through this, is, Karan, I have too many ideas. what do I do? So what I would suggest is let numbers take you to what is best. So like, I'm a finance guy. So build an Excel sheet, put all your ideas down, put down 5 metrics. For example, TAM, targetable addressable market, founder problem fit, say competition, whether you have the skills to build the idea or not, and money required. And give weightages to each, say 20%, 20%, 30, 20, 10. And now give a score of 1 to 5 in each column for 3 ideas. At the end, whatever idea has the most weighted average, select that. That should be the idea you go with. So let math do the trick for you, and you can use Excel for that. So now you've got an idea. This is probably one of the most important slides, is you need a team, right? So already mentioned 90% startups fail. I'm angel investing right now. And the number one thing I look at, right, is I'm betting on the entrepreneur. If the entrepreneur is solid, I don't mind putting money as long as other things also match up. So make sure your team or your co-founder is solid. They say your co-founder, right, or probably beyond that, because you end up spending more time with them. So please, I'm assuming that you'll take time before you say yes to your husband or wife. Same way for your co-founder, make sure it's a solid fit and you both complement each other, and not because your mummy papa told you to get co-founder. Okay. So now what to look for in a co-founder is make sure there are a couple people. So number one, you need a tech or a product person, somebody who's actually going to build the startup. Second is you need a sales or a marketing person. Third is domain experience. So say, for example, I'm building an education, right? If I've been a teacher, if I've been an online educator, if I've consumed a lot of courses, it's a plus. Fourth is exceptionalism. This is very important, right? Because kya hota hai that a lot of times, right, today money is available very easily. So when you see like IIT founder, IIM Ahmedabad founder, etc., get money easily. If you haven't gone to a top tier school, right, or college, make sure you've done something in life that shows exceptionalism somewhere. For example, say you did really good in college, in school. You led awesome events. You built a podcast. You built a marketing agency. You are really good at sales. You are really good at design. You understand Excel very well. So you should have something that you are fadu at, like amazing, right? And last point is, how do you find your co-founding team? Is you go through your networks in the past. So the school you went to, I'm sure you had plenty of smart kids where you went. Reach out to them. College you are in right now, find people. Communities, for example, I'm a part of SVP, Rotaract Club, Lions Club, etc., etc. Find people who are interesting. There are a lot of online Discord servers as well, friends and family. The second thing is, I can't stress this enough, cold email, cold LinkedIn message people. LinkedIn is a gold mine, I already mentioned it, so please go crazy on LinkedIn. And the third thing, and if you're creating content, right, on LinkedIn or any place, other people reach out to you. So that's an added benefit. And the third thing is talk to people. Now, one question I have is, how many people do you think an ideal co-founding team has from a investor's lens? Is it 1 person founding team, 2 person, 3 person, 4, 5? How many? How many co-founders should a team have? Take a guess. Ideal. And why? Any guesses on why? No, cool. So I'll keep going for the sake of time. So, a lot of times VCs typically prefer 2 founders, right? Because the second person is kind of a check on the first person, and they make sure they don't go astray. 3 founders is also acceptable. Anything more than 3 is usually labeled as a risk on the investment memo that the analyst prepares. However, research from Stanford and NYU says that 1 founder teams have performed the best. So it's an interesting conundrum to figure out that 2 lay or 1 lay, because 2 is ideal, but 1 have performed the best according to recent research. Now say that you had an idea, you built your team, now what? So the third process is validate your idea. Is your idea really an interesting idea or not? And there are a few interesting ways to do this. So firstly is mom test, right? Moms usually don't give bad advice, they give great advice. I wish my mom heard this right now. She would be smiling. So you can go and ask your mom or family member, brother or sister, etc., whether this idea is good or not, and tell them to give you ekdam pakka advice, no bakwas. Okay. Second thing is friends and family test. Already discussed that. Third thing is talk to people through surveys. So you can either do Google surveys like on Facebook or whatnot, but you can also and I would actually encourage this is sit with people for 30 minutes and ask them like, this is the problem I'm trying to solve. What do you think? How much would you pay for it, etc., and validate what you're thinking about. And similar to this, create a feedback loop where after every stage of building, you get feedback from the people you're actually building for, whether the idea is real or is just in your head. Now, when talking to people, right, at least 50 people have to be in your validation pool. Otherwise, the pool is too small. And at least 60% of your respondents have to say yes, they like your idea, or they would buy or pay for your idea, etc., etc. So this is very, very important. And that's it. Like, that's all there is to building a startup. Now you start building. During this time, you will go through more pivots than you can possibly imagine and think of. So just start building. And a few things that you will figure out with this, right, is team, revenue model, how to market the startup, getting investors, VCs, mentors, advisors, and anything else that you need to know. So I know I spoke to Shivani while we were talking. So this was an important aspect, right? So these are the legal, ethical steps now that you have to cover. So firstly, and I'll go through this very quick because of time. So make sure you're incorporated as a proper corporation. Make sure your funding is very clean. Your bookkeeping, taxes, accounting is separate from your entity. Don't treat it like, I'm Karan. My startup is called BlackBerry. And but all the money comes to Karan's account. No, keep a separate account, everything for the startup. It's very important. Baad mein problem hoega. Third thing is with your this is very, very important with your co-founder, right? Before you start, on pen and paper with signature and possibly a lawyer as well, write down the agreement. This is the equity split. This is your role. This is my role. Obviously, it will change over time, but ek jagah documentation hona chahiye. Okay, this is how we'll proceed. Name of the company is very, very important. And don't keep a name limiting. For example, right now, a company in my network called Soxitos, they used to make socks, is raising money, but they also make loungewear, okay, like tracks and all that good stuff. However, the name is so limiting, right? They still gone with Soxitos because it has brand value associated with it. So make sure if you are thinking big, your name should also depict the non-limitation. Get a .com domain name. Say that you bought Apple. Your company is called Apple, but Apple is already gone. How will you name your website? So .com name is important, trademarks. And when you're naming your startup, right, test multiple names with people. So at least get 3 to 5 names. Ask people, what do you like most? Why do you like them the most? What do you hate? What do you like about this name, etc., etc. I've written about this on my LinkedIn as well. Build imperfectly. Sheryl Sandberg from Facebook said, done is better than good. Perfect. So start building. You'll figure out a way automatically. Hire great people. This is the single most important thing founders have to do. Hire a good team initially and make sure it's lean. You don't need 20 people to run a startup. You need 3-4 people. So make sure your 3-4 people are solid. Like make sure you have, last point, sell yourself. Like, initially if you don't believe in your idea, right, no one else will. So shuru mein bahut bechna padta hai, and eventually once people buy into it, then there is enough FOMO that other people are selling themselves to you saying, please take my money because there is so much money being offered, right? So a few more steps is, most founders, successful founders I know, are very careful with how they spend their money. So like, be very frugal with your expenses because it's not your money you're playing with, it's my money as an investor. So be very frugal and let your investor know the same. Obviously, scale growth, that's important. Make sure you have an investor pitch deck. So what you pitch to investors as your slide deck, this is very, very important. I don't spend more than 3 minutes on a pitch deck. So the pitch deck has to be solid, clean, with graphics, less text, etc. Not like mine here. Know your competitors. Most startups I talk to don't know who their competitors are. They think the competitor is Facebook, when there are much smaller players who are competitors to them. Secure initial capital, get insurance, understand how you'll raise money from VCs. It's a whole other ball game altogether. I'll talk more about later on. Get office space and get it on a long-term basis or short-term if you think you'll scale quick. Make a stock option pool. This is complex. I'll not explain it right now, but Google it, stock options and vesting. All good startups have this. Customer service is very important. If there is time, ask me a question on this. I'll share a beautiful story on Flipkart and customer service. Get a startup attorney, and a lot of times they'll do it for free. And last but not the least, get comfortable speaking in public, because you'll be doing it very often. But most important is have a strong team and execute. Like, ideas are cheap, execution is everything. Cool. So any questions so far? I'll pause for a water break and one question, if anybody has one. No, cool. So next thing is raising money from VCs. So understanding the landscape, right? So there are many people and many stages of funding. The first one I would suggest is, instead of asking for money, apply for free money. So grants, government grants, school grants, college grants, state grants, competitions. There are plenty of startup competitions, especially for student founders, happening around India, where you can raise crores of rupees, and incubators where you can join. They'll give you access to mentors, tech help, all that good stuff, for a potential later equity of your company, right? The second part is friends, family, and fools. Fools, because only fools invest so early in your company, when you don't have any money, not generating revenue, etc. The third thing is angel investors, where I fit in. After that is pre-seed investors. So investors who fund you before you're making any money. Then is seed investors, who start funding you when you start making money. I actually invest through the Mumbai Angel Network, which is actually between seed and Series A. So it's a syndicate where multiple people like me come together and invest money in one deal. I'll explain more later on. And then you have Series A, B, C, D, where with every series you're raising bigger and bigger check sizes. Then you have private equity, where you're raising billions of dollars. Then you have IPO, initial public offering, where people like you and I can buy shares of the company, even for whatever one share price is. My company is going for an IPO in 2023 early, so please look out for that. And last but not the least is follow-on IPO. So even after you do an IPO, you can raise money again through another round of financing in an IPO. Okay. This is more complex than I make it sound. Just for the sake of time, I've kept it short and sweet, right? So now, before you raise money, right, ask yourself if you need money. Have anybody heard of Zerodha? You can say yes, no in the chat. Zerodha, yes. Okay, what about Zoho? Yes, no, Zoho. Oh, wow. People have heard of it. Cool. So Zoho and Zerodha is much more popular, right? But these are both examples of fundable, scalable, successful startups that did not raise any money from VCs. They are completely bootstrapped. Bootstrap means founder का खुद का पैसा लगा है, and their profit say they are generating more and more scale, right? So remember, equity is the most expensive asset you can give. So don't give it away so easily. Again, I repeat, if you're a founder, if you're planning to be one, equity is the most expensive asset you can give. So don't give it away so easily. And if you are looking to raise money, know what you're looking to raise money for. A few common heads is CapEx, working capital. CapEx is like buying machines, all that good stuff. Working capital is like financing orders, all that good stuff. Research and development, say you built one prototype of an iPhone. You want to build another prototype. Research and development का पैसा चाहिए. Fourth is marketing. Marketing dollars get bigger and bigger as you scale. For example, the amount of money Swiggy spends on marketing, you can't even imagine. And last but not least, hiring. These are broad headings. There's more reasons, but broad headings, right? The last line is very important. The goal is not to raise money. The goal is to make money. Today, most people, right, think I want VC paisa and I'm successful. No, I showed you the stat, right? Most VC funded startups fail. So the goal is not to raise money. The goal is to make money. But if you're still asking for money, know why you want it, have a plan for it, and show how you will use it. And when you're using it, be very conjuice or frugal with that money, because it's not your money, it's mine. Cool. So now these are like, for example, myself and other early stage investors, right? In broad headings, this is the most important stuff. You can see my exclamation marks, team, 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 most important thing. So get good team members. Second is team market fit. So why are you as a founder going to solve the problem you want to solve? For example, say that I am an unhealthy person. I can't be building a health and wellness brand unless until I've gone through my own health journey, right? it's not a good pitch. The third is TAM, or total addressable market, how big the problem is that you're trying to solve. Fourth is timing. Right, today in India you'll see a lot of D2C brands coming up. Pehle bhi D2C brands came, but now a lot of them are getting funding because in India in the last 5 years, Jio has made internet accessible. Before, the internet was only in a select few houses. That's why you can order online. So that's why timing is very important, and most startups click because they were in the right time, the right place, right? Fifth is technology. In tomorrow's startup world, there'll only be two kinds of startups. One is tech startups. The second one is technology-enabled startups. So make sure you're using technology in your company. Very important. You might not be a tech startup, but you have to use technology to streamline supply chain, to streamline logistics, streamline hiring, etc., etc. Sixth is traction. So make sure people are talking about you, you're getting growth, etc. And last, not the least, I can't stress it enough, clarity. When I talk to founders, right, when they answer questions without clarity or keep blabbering, it blows an investor's mind away. So if you don't know an answer, say, I don't know, I'll find out. This is what I think. Don't lie. But speak with clarity, speak in short sentences. No, back it up by data. Man se kuch mat bolo. Okay. So that's a little bit about what early stage investors are looking for. Now, my investment thesis, right? I'm currently angel investing in India. I used to invest in Boston earlier through NU Impact. Now I'm investing my own money, so it's a lot more hard earned. So I am typically investing in seed funded companies, very early stage companies, pre-seed if the founder is a different breed altogether, or if I know him from the past. I usually come in with other investors. What that means is that, say, 10 of us will write 5 lakh rupee checks together, and together we'll call it one check, 50 lakh rupee check. But the 10 of us write 5 lakh rupee checks each. And 50 lakh might take 1% of your company. Each of us gets 0.5% that way, or 10%. So it's a syndicate form of investing. That's what a venture syndicate means. The third thing is consumer, D2C, consumer tech brands. And last but not the least is purpose-driven brands. So I love brands that are making a difference to the world or to India. One point to note is that I also invest in equity and crypto and all that good stuff. I am a value investor, right? Which means I don't like wasting money. Like I'm wearing a Fatawa juta right now, which looks good, but I don't need another juta right now. Like it's good. So I'm a value investor, and like I don't need to make 10 deals a year. As long as the deals I make, I am confident in them, and I feel that I'm adding strategic value to the deal, I'm happy, right? I want a higher return compared to a lot of returns, okay? And then one recent investment I made. So how many of you saw Shark Tank? Yes, no, on the chat. Yes, okay. Did you hear of this company called Rare Planet? Rare Planet, they make karigar, like they streamline karigars in India, and they help them get their products at a higher price in more metropolitan locations. So they got a deal from Namita on Shark Tank, and that's a recent investment I made. It's called Rare Planet. They were in 5 airports when they came on Shark Tank. They just added 15 new airports. They'll be in 21 airports going forward. So if you see Rare Planet, please check it out and consider buying a nice bottle as well from them. I'm just kidding. It's a nice company. They're doing some good work. They're impacting karigars in India. I believe in them, and I'm happy to discuss more about the company, but I don't think we have enough time. There's so much to cover, right? So last but not the least, one thing I want to know from the organizer in the chat is, can I go 10 minutes over? If that's okay, you can just let me know on the chat, please. If not, I'll cut it short. So if you want to say that you want to get a job at a startup or a VC, right? What do? So firstly, I think getting a job at a startup when you're so young in college is easier than VC. So I would encourage you first work at a startup, then work at a VC. Okay. So now what startups are looking for is expertise in some area, tech, marketing, operations, etc. Or you are a hustler. You know, you're a jugadu kind of a guy or girl who can wear multiple hats. So either there's expertise or there's jack of all trades. Don't be in the middle of nothing, right? Second thing is, most startup founders respond to emails or LinkedIn messages because they have to raise money, they have to create awareness. So cold email, cold LinkedIn. Again, LinkedIn is a gold mine. Please use it. The third thing is have experiences which say that you can beat the odds. For example, you came from a family where nobody's gone to college. My parents have never been to America till now. I'm 23. They've never been to America. I have 5 years I spent there, right? That's an interesting point for any startup founder, any investor to know. So, and I enjoyed in America. I got a good job, etc., etc. So, show experiences which show you can beat the odds. A few characteristics are be curious, insane work ethic. Founders sound sexy, right? Because they show all that good stuff on Shark Tank and everything, but they work like crazy, and wear multiple hats and have an entrepreneurial mindset, which means that when you see a problem, you don't ask someone to solve it, you solve it yourself. What VC firms are looking at is prior, investment banking, consulting experience, startup experience, domain knowledge. You've been the ex-founder of a company or early member of a company that went from 0 to 1. For example, say that you were the first 50 hires at Swiggy and you saw it go from 50 hires to 5,000 hires. That's interesting. You have something interesting to add to companies. You started to scale some side hustle, like say an Instagram page. The next quote is by me. I won't read it out loud. Somebody asked for book recommendations. So these are some of my favorite book recommendations. I also have a link. So I read pretty interesting stuff. So I'll just share. I have an Excel sheet with all the books I've read in the last few years. You can check it out in case you like any. You can take a photo if you like. I'll stop for 2 seconds. Keep moving. So these are some, okay, I forgot to change the label. Sorry, it's not book. Movie recommendations. If you don't like reading books, which most people don't, interesting movies in the business space, other movies, TV shows, documentaries, which you can check out. I also have a list of podcasts and newsletters on my personal website at karankishorepuria.com. And with that, I want to wish you all, I want to say thank you so much for your time. You were a very kind audience. I really enjoyed the conversation. Again, if you'd like to connect, these are my links. Feel free to follow me, like, comment, engage, DM, etc. And I'll stay now 10 minutes. It's bang 5 o'clock for questions. So if you have questions, not in the chat, you have to unmute yourself and ask. So yeah, I'll stop presenting now. I hope this was value adding, guys and girls.
Thank you so much, sir, for giving us deep knowledge about the topic. Now you all can ask your questions in the chat box or unmute yourself to ask the questions.
So, I say this often that if you don't ask me a question here, because there's time right now, if you DM me, I won't respond to your question. Because we have time, ask. And then you can also DM me 20 questions. One girl actually asked me in a Zoom call, and then she DM'd me 10 questions. But because she'd asked me the question, I answered all 10, typing every answer out. So please do ask, guys and girls. But if you don't have any questions, don't force it. Okay, cool, Anjali. So Anjali, send me your address on any social media. I'll send you a book because you were the first question. So you know what happened in Flipkart, right? When Flipkart initially started, the first product they started selling was books, like Amazon. The first product Amazon sold was books. And some remote custom, like initially they would get 2 or 3 orders per day. So they were crazy when they got an order. And when the first or second order they got for a book, some customer placed an order for a very rare encyclopedia that they could not find. So the founders themselves searched in the entire city trying to find the book, etc., etc. And when they could not find it, they wrote back to the guy saying that, "Hi, this is the founder of Flipkart. I cannot find your book right now, but trust me, I am doing everything I can to find your book." And a couple of days later, he said, "I found your book," and he sent the book to him. That's what it takes to build an early stage startup like Flipkart, that kind of dedication, hustle, customer experience. So that's just an example of what great customer experience or service is like. Another question is why competition is important. Competition exists everywhere. When people say that no, there's no competition, right? My answer is you don't know them, and that's worse. And competition helps you be better because maza kya otherwise, right? If you are the best, if you're the only one, you're the best, or the worst, depending on what hat you're wearing. So competition is what makes it interesting, fun, and like sports. what should be the first aim for any startup? Solve a customer's problem. That's the only aim for any startup. And obviously, once you have investor money and you are giving your own time, monetize that problem. Make sure you can give your investors a return, you can give yourself a return, and the startup is cash flow positive at some time in the future. And different spaces require different things. For example, consumer businesses like say food, beverage, etc., they should be profitable from the very beginning, or like from first, second, third year. SaaS companies, technology companies might not be profitable for a while. But great question. Other questions? Could be anything. Internships, Goldman Sachs, time management.
So
Somebody should unmute, but the voice, I think, was echoing. Sorry. It's not my fault, but still sorry.
no, yeah. Now am I audible?
Perfect. Vishaka,
Yeah.
hi.
Okay.
See you.
Hi, sir. So actually, can you elaborate on something like how to make a good team? So like on the very early stage of any startup, I personally believe that a good team helps a lot. So how to make a good team?
Vishaka, please send me your address as well on anything that you like, any of my chat. I would love to send you a book. So, good team. First thing is incredible people do incredible things, right? So, like, in school, if you were active, you probably made a lot of friends. In college, if you're active, you probably people knew you. If you write content on LinkedIn, Instagram, etc., people know you. If you cold email them, people know you, right? So the first thing is to increase the funnel of interesting people you meet. For example, on an average week, I meet on my website, it says I don't know, it says 2 people. Last week, I met at least 10, 12 people. I've never met them in my life before, right? So meet interesting people. And if you think this is a person I might potentially work with in the future, let them know, hey, let's collaborate sometime in the future and stay in touch about what you're working on. And when the idea clicks, either you'll message them or when their idea clicks, they'll message you because you've told them you're open to it. But do interesting things. Even if you're not building a startup right now, be active in college, do leadership, public speak, invest, side hustles, all that good stuff. Great question. Anything else? Don't be shy. Let's go. Questions. I'm a pretty hyperactive person. I don't drink coffee. Yeah, somebody unmuted. Go ahead.
Hello, sir. I wanted some tips for time management as everything for 2 years was online and now we have our colleges open.
So, Bipasha, great question. For time management, right? The two things I'm most protective about my time, but more than that, my energy. I don't waste my time on people who drain my energy. Right. 3 tips for time management is number one, maintain a calendar. I can share my calendar with you. My life is on my Google Calendar. If I'm meeting someone and it's not on my calendar, we're not meeting. Second thing is time block. So time block means say that you have to write an assignment for a particular class, right? Tell yourself, I'll estimate how long it'll take. Give yourself 2 hours to do it and finish it in 2 hours. If it'll take 3 hours, give yourself 3 hours. But don't say, I'm going to work on it today. Today has 24 hours. Yeah, come on. The third thing is you have 168 hours in a week. You spend 50 sleeping. You spend typical work hour, like for me is 40. So 40, 50 hours is work. You spend 10, 20 hours working out, eating food, all that good stuff. We are what we are because of our parents. They gave us birth. So very grateful for them.
Thank you, sir, for answering our questions. It was really helpful. The institution's Innovation Council extends sincere gratitude to Mr. Karan Kishorepuria for delivering the session today and sharing your journey with us and inspiring us to follow our dreams and never giving up on them even if the going gets tough. Thank you for taking the time from your busy schedule and joining us. We are grateful for the learning experience that you provided. We extend our deepest thanks to our principal ma'am, Dr. Payal Mago, for being a pillar of support and strength. We would like to extend a heartfelt thanks to all the teachers for their constant support and motivation. Last but not least, we would like to extend a heartfelt thanks to all the audience for showing your keen interest in this webinar. We hope it provided you with a great learning outcome.
I would also request everyone to switch on your cameras for a minute, so like we can have a group photograph with sir. everyone. Karuna, you can stop presenting that.
Please share the photo as well if you can afterwards. I'm happy to share it online.
Sure, sir.
So I can finally see your faces. I asked so much, and I should have asked Vishaka to say, turn on your cameras. It did the trick initially. Cool. Awesome.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. It was an insightful session. Very nice to talk to you.
Take care. Bye. Keeping awesome.
Thank you, sir.